Hello, we are live again, and our special guest is Dr. Daniela Farkas, and today we'll talk about honey. Uh, Hello, Dr. Farkas, and thank you for your time.
Of course, such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Today we'll talk about honey, and the first question is what makes honey a unique nutritional substance compared to regular sugar, and how does its molecular composition contribute to its health benefits?
Yeah. So, honey is a natural product produced by the bees from plants. Uh, what makes the honey such a special nutritional product is the fact that it's loaded with a lot of uh, um, antioxidants, a lot of antimicrobial, a lot of anti-cancer, a lot of anti-inflammatory agents. It has phenols, it has proteins, it has vitamins that do not exist in a lot of products that we consume. It's a very, very, very sought after from antiquity until present. And what makes honey such an unbelievable uh, product is its benefits. Its benefits are like absolutely incredible. We're probably gonna go more into it, but it's also extremely sweet and awesome on different foods that we eat.
Yeah. In what ways does honey serve as a valuable natural medicine, and what specific elements or health conditions has it been traditionally used to treat?
Yes, honey is used from antiquity for respiratory diseases, for infections in the throat, for wounds, for ulcers, for cardiovascular, and those are the main ways it was used medicinally in the past. With advance of technology, we realize that there are benefits to honey that nobody really mentioned and nobody knew before. Like it has an antimicrobial property. It pretty much kills any bacteria in it. There is no bacteria at all that survives in honey. This is pretty incredible because there are bacteria, like, for example, MRSA or VRSA, or very um, hard to treat bacteria that resist pretty much many antibiotics that we have, and they do not survive in honey. Another one that it's unbelievable good is the fact that it has anti-inflammatory properties. So when somebody has a very bad swollen, let's say an ankle, if they put honey, it's just as effective as taking an anti-inflammatory pill. It has apoptotic property, meaning that it eats away, it literally eats away at infections or bad stuff in a wound. It has an immunomodulator, meaning that if the body requires a type of enzyme or it has an excess, it will decrease those enzymes to the normal level. But if the body has too little, the same ingredient, the immunomodulator, will increase the desired enzyme to the normal level. Recently, it was discovered that honey kills cancer and helps into reducing the metastasis on a person with cancer. So this is pretty impressive list. Yeah.
Wow, yeah, indeed. Okay, and can you elaborate on the specific nutritional benefits of consuming honey and how it can support overall health and well being?
Yes. One of the reasons the honey is so healthy is because it has a lot of phenols. The phenols are collected from the plants uh, and digested already by the bees into their gut, and then deposited into those little cells, the honeycomb, and it is loaded with vitamins. It has vitamin A, B, C, D, pretty much the whole alphabet. This is the vitamins. It has phenols. It has um, protein. It has carbohydrates. It has over 22 different types of sugar. The fact that it's not one specific type of sugar, but it's a constellation of sugars, the body metabolizes it differently than normal sugar. So instead of making it a spike into the sugar and then a depression, meaning a drop into the sugar level in the body, it is metabolized very slowly over a period of like 4 hours. So by being metabolized over 4 hours instead of 15 minutes, it keeps your blood sugar level. That's why it's recommended for diabetics. Of course, not a day, but uh, people with diabetics, if they do consume sugar, the sugar is maintained if the sugar is in the form of honey. If they consume sugar in the form of regular sugar, it will have a spike in like within 15 minutes and then it will crash. So, this is one of the benefits why it is so. It is such a good nutritional supplement. You also asked me if the nutritional supplement was verified by the science. Yes, it is. And the fact that this is something that everybody could raise their own beehives in the backyard and obtain their own sugar, and because there is not a lot of interest from the pharmaceutical or industrial channels to market it, nobody really marks it because, when you go to buy a pound of sugar in the store, somebody benefits. But if you take your own honey, nobody benefits. So, of course, it's not going to be a big push to produce honey versus sugar.
Of course. And how has modern scientific research validates validated the traditional medicinal uses of honey? And are there any recent discoveries in its medical applications that are particularly promising?
Yes. Uh, well, the modern medicine, it's modern and in existence for about 100 years. And it's wonderful to have it. It really is wonderful. But it cannot stand the test of time. When people used honey for thousands of years and it helped them, if a product is used for like 10,000 years versus 100 years, of course, people will have the confidence of using the honey way more than the regular medicine that we are so accustomed to now. It stood the test of time. But with the advance of microbiology and better microscopes, we saw that the uh, polychemicals in the honey contains unbelievable good flavonoids and polyphenols, which are antioxidants. And then they were able to put the bioactive ingredients together and to see why exactly honey is so good. You asked me if it's anything promising. Yes. Um, Honey is studied, and products from the bees are studied, especially like propolis. It was studied against the COVID 19,
Wow.
and it seems to kill COVID 19. So it is effective not only against bacteria but also against viruses. Um, uh, Propolis was also studied for cancer. You cannot patent propolis because everybody could make it, and there is about $200 million to patent a drug. So if a company would put 200 millions and patent propolis, everybody would benefit, and the person that invested the money would just lose them because nobody would buy it from them when they could produce their own. However, However, Propolis was dissected by different companies, and extracts that were isolated from propolis are currently used for cancer. Now, those specific chemicals were patented, and medication that cost in excess of $40,000 a month are on the market today for cancer. If people would use propolis, it would do the thing, but natural. Same thing with the honey. They discovered that if ingredients from or molecules from honey could be isolated, it could they were used for antibiotic use and antiviral use, and it seems to work. Those are patented, but we cannot patent honey because it has a multitude of molecules, not only one, and nobody could patent a natural product like a carrot or a honey or no. It has to be a molecule. Even though if the molecule was isolated initially from the same product like honey. I also need to mention that in the case of honey, for example, honey does not have one molecule. It has a multitude of molecules. It affects the body in a multitude of ways, not like one single chemical. Because it has a lot of molecules, when somebody ingests the honey, it would have effect from all of those little molecules. It will be a tempered effect, meaning that it's not going to produce an immediate response, but it will be a much better one on long term, way better one than a chemical. But money.
Yes. Um, yeah. What FDA approved medical treatments or products currently incorporate honey, and what conditions are they intended to address? Additionally, are there any ongoing clinical trials exploring new medicinal uses of honey awaiting FDA approval?
Yes. Uh, Not molecules isolated from honey, but honey as a substance, exactly as it comes from the hive. It's used currently and approved by FDA for wounds and for ulcers. Uh, it's under the name of Medihoney. I use it in my practice, especially for burns. And the reason I use it for burns is because I know the benefits of honey. Honey prevents infection. Honey eats away the dead tissue, and honey stimulates new tissue growth. So, because of those, when somebody comes with a second or third degree burn into my office, I put honey. It's cheap, it is readily available. It decreases inflammation. It decreases pain. It decreases the chance of getting infected and stimulates tissue growth. You cannot get that in any type of dressing normally. Um, However, the FDA patented only this company, and this company is called MediHoney. This honey from medicine honey sounds like a specific type of honey. It is regular honey. It's nothing special about this. It's just company had the guts to go for the FDA approval. I also use honey when I have chronic wounds, not only ulcers, like wounds that sometimes get to the bone and they start to infect the around tissue, and patients sometimes get to gangrene and requires amputations. One of the last lines of defense would be honey, because honey eats away the tissue that is dead. And if I go with a scalpel and I remove the tissue, I do not have the expertise to go to the last cell that it's infected, because you cannot see one cell. Honey does. I cannot. And nobody can unless they use a microscope. But even if they would use a microscope for the wound, when they use a scalpel, the scalpel, as thin as it is, it's way bigger and thicker than a cell. So when they would cut, they would produce damage into better cells that were not infected, while the honey doesn't do that. So yes, Medi honey is allowed to be used and patented by FDA for the use of wounds and for the use of chronic ulcers. Also, honey is used as it comes from the hive from for in different medication that involves a dryness of the trachea and colds. Uh, I remember growing up in Romania, whenever we had a cold, my mother used to make tea with honey and with lemon, and that was the medicine because we kind of did not have too much medicine at that time.
Yeah, great information about honey. Thank you for your time, Dr. Farkas, and we'll talk another subject a few moments later. Thank
It,
you. Thank you.
it was such a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank
And
you for your time.
thank you.
Thank you.